cat owner marks.
Yeah, he's mostly pretty good, but sometimes he gets into a mood. He gets too playful, and then he wants to attack rather than just be snuggled.
Big podcast money.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about that. Oh, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Oh, we're done here. See ya, cat. We're done. We're back to another episode of the Let's Talk About That podcast. I'm your co-host, Tony.
And I'm Martin. And today we're talking about something that's rooted in the olds, a collection of myth, especially one belonging to a particular religion or cultural tradition, also known as mythology. That's at least how Google describes it. Last time we talked about the paranormal, and we kind of stumped into the mythology, and we thought that would be a great next topic. And you, Tony, you are kind of into Greek Roman mythology, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had books on it as a kid. I used to read, and so I learned about a lot of their things. Persephone being, kidnapped by Hades, and the whole story of Cronus eating his children until they accidentally they tricked him and gave him a rock to eat instead of Zeus, and then it's kind of a thing. But yeah, no, I was really fascinated by it as a kid. I thought it was cool. And then, of course, there's no real American mythology per se, unless you want to start getting into like biblical stuff.
No, nothing of the USA, and from the United States of America. They don't have a mythology of their own.
Yeah, I guess we just kind of bring a mix of all the cultures that have kind of assimilated here.
Yeah.
But unlike us, Norway, Norse mythology is a pretty big thing. I think most people would recognize the name Thor, even if they don't necessarily realize it's Norse. But
and or Odin, Thor, Freya, and all those names are Norwegian or at least Scandinavian names. Also, if you play Skyrim, there is some northern names there, I've heard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I assume a good portion of our listener base, whatever size it may be, is familiar with the Marvel movies. So I'm sure they at least have a passing knowledge of some of the names just from the Thor movies.
Yeah, if you've seen those movies, there is some things there. Yeah. I haven't seen them myself, but then again, I know the names without seeing the movies.
Yeah, what's even the point, right?
Yeah. I've never been into superhero movies anyways, but that's a whole different topic. Yeah.
So I was curious, given that Norway has such a rich and sort of well-established mythology, obviously I'm assuming there's no people that are for the most part practicing like.
Oh, there is.
Sort of
there is. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think it has such a big following in Norway, but over in the UK, I think there is pretty big. They're kind of following the Norse and Saxony religion thingy with the Stonehenge and the solstice and all that stuff. But it's if you go and study the mythologies, there are at least the northern ones. There are kind of based on the same things. Around the movement of the sun and the moon, the stars, and the winter and summer and all that. At least what I've but I've managed to read up on. I'm not too familiar with all those different mythologies. I mean, I tried to count them from the list of Wikipedia earlier today, and they're sorted by a region, and I counted to over 150 different mythologies. So, yeah, I might be wrong on many points there.
Well, you know, there's enough of them that whatever you say, you're probably right about one of the mythologies, right?
Probably. I mean, yeah, I didn't know there was so many, but then again, there is over 3,000 different gods, so why not?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if it was also easier in some ways, you know, since the world is so connected today, like it would be harder to develop the same sort of thing. But, you know, given how disconnected the world was, you know, it's easy to see, I guess, how certain pockets would have established their own myths and traditions and would have been largely unaffected.
Yeah, definitely. And you see, just in Africa, there are so many different ones, and all the tribes we know from there, they try to stay kind of away from each other, I guess, to prevent wars and so on.
Sure.
And they had their own belief systems. And the same goes with the Norse, and just over the pond to the UK, and they had the Saxony mythologies. So, and the Greek and the Romans, but everyone was kind of developed under different periods of time and different evolutionary stages of mankind, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. trying to put the right words out there.
Yeah. I was curious, like, do you see, is there a lot of influence? Is there any influence from Norse mythology and sort of everyday life there? I mean, I know some of the days of the week are probably named after them. They are here, so.
Yeah. I mean, we have Thursday is Torsdag. It's Torsdag, Thor. I mean, Fredag, Friday, Phrase Day, and all that. It's pretty much the same. But
is it like common to see like Norse mythology names used for like stores or brands or anything like that? It's like
some places there are like some stores are, especially if they do some special clothing or they sell kind of jewelry with Thor's hammer and so on. There's a brand for that, and but I'm trying to think of something that's directly to that, but I can't come up with anything at the moment. But I guess there is. I mean, when we have thunder, it's at least I think it's Thor. But I don't know how the younger generations are up to that. I've always been fascinated by that, the northern Norse mythology.
Sure.
But I don't know how the younger generations are going on. We would taught that in school, at least some of the basics, but I can't understand why they would take it out if they've done it. So yeah. I mean, time will tell. I have a daughter; she's 6 and in school, so I guess she will bring the homework.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we learned. I mean, I'm pretty sure we had units on like Greek and Roman mythology in school. So, you know, it seems like one of those common things.
Yeah, I haven't. I actually I don't know. I know some of the names, but I don't know the whole thing. It haven't really occurred to me before in the later years that there are actually Greek and Roman mythologies that are separated. I thought they were the same thing for a very long time. Yeah.
Well, I'll confess I don't exactly know how different they are. I mean, obviously they have different names for all the gods, but I'm not 100% sure if they have like completely different, mythological stories or not. I confess I don't actually know on that point.
Yeah. You learn about Greek and Roman mythology in school, you said. When? What classes? What?
I think, probably in the middle school range or maybe elementary, in kind of our social studies class, which is kind of a like geography and cultures and, it's kind of history and all that sort of, it's sort of a general purpose, like stuff about the world class that
Mhm.
we have here. I wonder, I don't know if you have anything similar, but
I don't know. We have something called social studies, but that more like politics and so on. But we have own religion classes. Yeah, that's when my parents went to school, and just before I went to school, it was called Christianity, and then it was changed to Christianity, religion, and ethics, and then it was changed to, yeah, now I think it's called more like religion, ethics, and the view of life or something like that. It made more general, and it's a class where you are taught about all the different religions and all stuff around that, the traditions and stuff all around the world, the major ones and so forth.
sorry, we might have a little cat noise. Okay. It said I was still muted, but it lied. No, he's back. Okay, are you gonna come snuggle again? I was, saying as we went into this, this is a good lead-in for talking about like Egyptian mythology, because of course,
Yeah.
Egyptian mythology, they worship cats. Okay, no, we're not doing this right now.
No,
Yes,
you don't worship
sometimes
him enough.
Sometimes he's a snuggly boy, and sometimes he's not. But yeah, it's it's interesting. I mean, the mythologies have become such a kind of a rich well for movies and video games to draw from. I mean, you think about I don't know that you've played them, but if you're familiar with the Assassin's Creed games.
I haven't played them, but I know I've seen kind of playthroughs and stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of familiar with them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because like they've really, they had one of the more recent ones was really delving into Egypt and like talking about a lot of their traditions and stuff. And like the most recent one, of course, was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which was about Vikings.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, there's parts of the game where you like have these like dream sequences basically where you're playing as Odin. So you hear the whole myth about Loki and the wolf and Ragnarok.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find the gods of here. I've heard the whole Norse mythology thing in an audiobook not too long ago, and I wish we were taught more about that in school, that we or any mythology really, because it's really interesting how detailed some parts are, and some parts are very fuzzy. I mean, you just get a little hint of what's going on, and you have to kind of make up your mind around that thing. And some things very important, some things aren't important, and so on. And I've been interested in Egyptian mythology for quite a while and tried to get into that, but that's a mess. I can't grasp all the gods and times and all that in the mythology. it's so much going on. And the names just makes it a whole lot worse. And at some point they changed the names on some of the gods, and they had the sun, and they're that's too much for me. If I was taught that in school, it would probably be easier.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like in like Egyptian schools, if you know they teach Egyptian mythology, if that's the same or you know.
I mean, that should be in history class.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, actually, mythology is a big part of the history of these places.
Yeah,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's really interesting. Do you do you have maybe a particular like character or story from any mythology that you particularly like or stands out to you in some way?
yeah. The kind of the thing I remember from school is when Odin lost his eye to get the wisdom. I don't know the whole history right now out of mind, but I remember that quite well. Also, one thing I didn't know is like the how Thor got his hammer and why it's so short. It's so short because Loki, I think it was Loki, messed up with the dwarves who made it. So the handle was too short. It was meant to be a sledgehammer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting part of the mythology. I saw some comments about it. I don't remember where, but it made me kind of cringe because it was obvious the guy or girl didn't know what it was talking about at all. About the hammer and how it was made. But I guess that's what movies does when it takes small hints of history and mixes it up and try to make their own history about it.
Yeah,
people take it for the real deal.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see what parts get used and whatnot. Yeah, I remember. You know, well, I mean, of course, you know that I like Greek mythology because it just the names of my cats that we've had. Of course, our dearly beloved cat who passed away last year was named Hermes, and then of course our new cat is named Apollo. So, you know, I like those mythological names for pets. I think it's a fun way to use them.
Yeah, sure. A cat trying to destroy your house or something?
Oh, I think that's the kids upstairs trying to destroy us.
It's the undeveloped adults.
Yes.
Yes.
We're outnumbered. I mean, between the pets and the kids.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the Greek gods here, and of course I know their names, many of them, but I don't know the full stories because in some way I haven't been taught all of this. I mean, you have Poseidon, Zeus, Ares, and all those. I know kind of what they represent, but I haven't been taught that, or I haven't read up on it at all. But maybe I should. Is it a complicated thing?
You know, I confess, it's been a long time since I've really read. This was, something when I was in, middle school or so that I was really into for a while, and I kind of like remember pieces of the stories, and the ones that kind of like there's a couple that kind of stick with me, about the seasons and winter, like that's the whole thing about. And I want to make sure I don't screw this up. I'm pretty sure it's Persephone that gets kidnapped by Hades, and not Demeter, who's her mother.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Demeter is the mother and Persephone is the child. But I could be getting that backwards.
Yeah, I mean, don't ever try to make a family tree out of mythology or gods from the old. It's illegal, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, the father's Zeus in like 90% of the cases, because
Yeah,
that guy got around.
yeah. It's like that in most mythologies. I mean, the children of Loki was a wolf and a snake. How that, I don't know. I mean, I know that the Vikings ate some mushrooms, but it's yeah. I mean, Loki made the Midgars or the worm around the Midgar Serpent. Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce that in English.
It was like a worm, you said?
Yeah, it's called the worm that's rounded.
Because I know there's I don't know that story, I guess.
Oh, let's say translated. The Midgard Serpent.
Oh, sure. I think I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's
of course. When it comes to worms, go ahead.
Yeah, it's the worm that surrounds the earth, and in the end consumes it. I guess.
Okay.
I think Thor is fighting it, and he loses or something like that. It's the end of the world, like Ragnarok.
Okay, because I
think that's. I think that's the story.
Okay, because isn't there's also, and I apologize, I'm sure I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. Like,
yeah, sure.
Jormungandr or because that's like the one that Jormungandr. Yeah, I don't know. Which is okay. It's that's also known as the Midgard Serpent. So we are talking about the same.
There is like he has that name. I don't know what's the name in Norwegian. Can't quite remember, but Ragnarok is a series of events, catastrophes that will ultimately lead to the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's a battle between the gods and the demons and giants, ending in death of the gods. I don't know how many mythologies will end in death.
If I remember correctly, you don't know how many mythologies. What? Sorry.
Are ending with the deaths of the gods.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's maybe a little unusual. But I mean, I guess also, Norse mythology is one that really sort of glorified death, in a way. Which, some cultures do. Of course, Japanese mythology is all about that too, honor and war. I don't know if it's their culture or their mythology at that point, but it's all about honor and dying a good death and blah blah blah. So
yeah, dying in battle and getting to Valhalla.
Yes.
Yeah. Or else you will be trapped.
Sure. Yeah, I actually I forgot a little bit of the reason I know anything about the Midgard Serpent is having to do. I for a while I was running a like pencil and paper game, similar to Dungeons and Dragons, called Monster of the Week, and there's sort of an overarching storyline about Jormungandr and because we had some like Norse influences. One of the characters was like a fallen Valkyrie and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean those are from Northern mythology, definitely. Although I can't quite remember the names in Norwegian, but I hear them when you say them. Definitely.
Sure.
There is so many old names. I try to find how to pronounce Jörmungandr yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite similar to Icelandic.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, Icelandic is quite well similar to Old Norse or Old Norwegian.
Sorry, I was skimming some of this page about Jormungandr. Was that correct? Say it again.
I don't know if I pronounce it right at all,
okay.
but it's been some years.
Sure.
But if
Yeah.
I try to pronounce it just as it says here, it's the O with the 2 dots. It's
Oh, sure.
yeah, so it's Jörmungandr, and we have we have more like sharp letters, you know.
Sure. Yeah. You I'm like I said before, it's always the things I always am not sure about is the vowels, because English is very much like, I don't know, we have these 5, and based on context and other weird random factors, it changes how they sound.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other languages, it's like, oh yeah, the O makes this sound unless it's got the umlau and this accent or that accent, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not used to it. I just read them all as O and
but
I guess
that's sure. That's just
Sorry,
how it is.
Yeah.
So that's why all the weird names. I mean, Thor is not Thor; it's Thor, and all that is a sharp T and not an H in there, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some letters I don't know, and like the Y with this little thingy on. I don't know how do you pronounce that at all. So it's old, based on Old Norse language, and that's the same with Egyptian mythology. Try to pronounce it. I'm pretty sure Osiris wasn't pronounced Osiris in Old Egypt. I mean, it's 24th century BCE. It's too long ago for anyone to comprehend.
Yeah. Now you got me wondering. I wonder what the actual pronunciation of some of those ones are.
Yeah, I mean, you could find it. I mean, YouTube is or Google is your friend, you know.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But yeah, now I gotta. Okay, I'll look up that later. We don't need to. Yeah. I don't need to go into that now.
No. But you know what's the oldest mythology known to man is? Like that we know today.
Babylonian?
What? I don't. It's Mesopotamian.
Oh, Mesopotamian. Yeah, I mean, kind of similar deal. Yeah, I think one of the because one of the first like mythological tales was Gilgamesh.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. It was. I tried to just skim through here. It's from 3000 BC, and we're mostly gone about 400 CE. So it's quite old.
Yeah. It's interesting. We read the Epic of Gilgamesh for one of my classes in college.
Oh,
and it's interesting. It's interesting to see some of the similarities too, because of course, like of course, it also talks about a big flood, like a world-changing flood, similar to the Bible does about Noah's Ark and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It also featured the line a lot that Gilgamesh loved his axe like a woman, and I was always unclear as to what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not I won't shame anyone for the fetishes, but that's
yeah, no kink shaming here on this podcast.
No, that's a weird one. But
how familiar are you with the story of Gilgamesh?
Not at all, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, not at all. I just heard about it, and I probably have heard something of it, but I can't say it's from that exact.
Sure.
But the big flood, you say, that's something mentioned in many religions. I'm trying to find where it's old. Here it said, before Noah, myths of the flood are far older than the Bible, and that's for sure. We know that about Gilgamesh and all that. But I think also I've read some places it's from Native American mythologies. We're talking about some floods in different Asian mythologies, talking about the flood. So, and we all know by now that we developed from around some places on Earth and spread from there, and so there must have been some before they wrote things down. Things were shared by mouth. Stories from mouth to mouth and so on. So I guess they're based on the same thing all in all, and changed slightly through thousands of years, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we have a game that we play in school sometimes, or called telephone, where you've got a line of like 6 people, and you say something into the ear of the other one, and they whisper it to the next one, and then the person at the end says it.
Yeah, and
it's funny how much it changes.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the same that happened with religions and belief systems. Like it's rooted in the same basics, and some people did that with this and did that with this, and that's why they seem so different. But the basics are the same, I would say, in most religions and mythologies. I mean, they all have gods or that one thing who controls the weather, the sun, love, war, hate, and all that stuff. And that's there's similarities.
Personally, I'm always really fascinated by the polytheistic religions. The ones that have separate deities for different things like that. I mean, when you start studying Christianity or something like that, it's like, yeah, no, it's all God. Oh, this thing, that's also God. It's just God. It's more cool. Oh, this is Vishnu and this is Shiva.
And then you have Ra and all those mighty gods, and if you're going to Hindu, isn't there about over 1,000 different gods doing different things, and it's so big, the mythology world, and it's, at least for what I've seen, it's based on the same things, like how you should behave, and it's also how you should do things to kind of if you want to grow crops, there's kind of listed in there how you should behave and what you should do, or what God did to do. Yeah. And what you should do.
Well, and of course that's that's some of the issue sometimes with religion is that the Bible has a lot of stuff in it that is people I guess don't know how to take it as if it's prescriptive, like you have to do it this way, or like given the conditions, this is the way to do things.
Yeah.
And like there's so much like context that we just don't get or have to really understand the purpose of it, because I mean there's a lot of stuff that is just good practice.
Like sure, don't
stuff like that.
Don't kill your next. I mean, good manners and stuff like that. Don't have idols. You shouldn't worship too many people and stuff like that. It's, but then again, you have the Abrahamic mythologies, as it's called, because religion is also mythologies, because it's myths. You can't prove it right, so it's all myths and stories. And they have this one God, and you shouldn't worship or have any other deities and that God. that is God, Jehovah, or whatever they want to call him or she or that or this. And then you have like Egyptian and Hindu with all these different gods. And I guess it was kind of among the pharaohs in the Egyptian mythology where they tried to have like one god at some point, and that failed miserably. They banned all the worship of other gods, and when you have a religions with many gods, you can't just ban one.
Yeah. Well, and it's we see that today with just the clashing of cultures. Like, I mean, when people have deeply held beliefs, you can't just tell them not to believe it.
Yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't force thing upon people. That's just not how it works. You can force your kid to eat broccolis, but you can't force him to believe something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Sometimes it's really hard to force your kid to eat broccoli. Let me tell you. Well, some kids. My kids love broccoli.
Yeah, mine too, actually. Both of them.
This is 100% off topic. But like we've said, who cares? My mom loves to tell the story from when I was, probably 4 or something like that. And I loved pasta and things like that. And so one night my dad made lasagna. You familiar with lasagna? Yeah.
Of course.
Of course. Okay. And I refused to try it. I refused to take even a single bite. And my mom said, "You can't leave the table until you've had a bite." And I sat at the table for hours, and I outlasted her. Eventually, she just gave up. Like, that's when she realized, she couldn't win that sort of battle with me.
Yeah, but
of course, the funny thing is, I probably would have loved it if I'd tried it. But
yeah, that's the thing. But if a parent tell you must do this, no, I must. No. I won't. And I guess that was the same back in the days when they tried to force people to believe in their mythology, their religions. They squeezed out and killed those who wouldn't repent to their belief system. We know Christianity did that. We know Judaism did that. We know Islam did that. And I think the only reason why we know about the Crusades and all that stuff, the conquistadors and stuff, is because it's from your written times. If it was possible, I guess most larger populations of people would do that too. My gods are the right gods. What you believe is just BS. Come here, or else I chop your head off.
Yeah. There's a comedian named Patton Oswalt he's great. He has a whole bit about people like fighting sky cake versus sky pie or something like that. It's like, oh, my sky cake doesn't taste as good if you have your sky pie. And it's kind of just talking about sort of the ridiculousness of that attitude that believe like me or die, which is just not a healthy outlook.
Yeah, it's like forcing someone to think that green is the best color. You can't. Yeah, it's not possible, and people should understand that beliefs ain't something you can choose. Actually, you can you can change your beliefs, but you can't choose what you believe. The same thing as you can't choose what you feel. That's something we can't control.
Well, there's I think, what is it? Wager? I want to say it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it reminds me of when I'd heard about, are you familiar with Pascal's wager?
It sounds familiar, yeah.
It's basically saying, it's basically laying out, they're basically saying there's two sets of options. One of them, is there a God, or is there a God, is there not? And do you believe or do you not? And basically it's saying, well, if there's no God, whatever, doesn't matter. You don't have to do anything. If there is a God and you don't believe, then really bad things happen. And if there is a God and you do believe, you get to go to heaven, and so therefore you should believe in God because, you know, it's not worth taking the wager or something like that. And
yeah.
I've always thought it's interesting because it's like, sure, I could worship God or you know, go through the motions or anything like that, but how do you believe something you don't believe? You know, that sort of thing doesn't change, and that's why I always think that's weird.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if I taught my kids from the early stages that there is a God and that the God is the reason for everything, they surely would believe it because it's easier to change the beliefs of a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm trying to to get the words out. My head is spinning faster than I'm able to speak. I find it so wrong.
That feeling.
I found it so wrong to put the thoughts in your kid's mind for what to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean there is of course the you shouldn't believe everything you're told. And
Mm-hmm.
if someone tells you that this is real, you should have some kind of skepticism about that.
Mm-hmm.
You should do your own research, and that's not something a kid does because a kid listens to the adult because adult is the one with knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, hopefully you trust your parents implicitly, you know, at least at a young age.
Yeah.
You know, it's just yeah, oh, if they're saying it, of course it's true. And
Yeah.
it's not always the case, but you know, yeah, but yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting, you know, how do you know, my mother is, you know, she's she's very spiritual, a little bit religious. But I was raised in a pretty open way, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We went to church, I went to Sunday school until, you know, for most of my childhood and into my teenage years. But, you know, it was never like I was never forced into anything, and you know, I really appreciate that. Um, but yeah. We may have gotten off topic.
Yeah.
Only a little bit. This is like at
bit.
least sort of tangentially related, I think, but
Yeah, we're into religion and all that stuff. So religion is actually listed as a mythology by definition.
Yep. Yes, it is. It's just mythology that people still practice and believe.
Yeah, it is. But are you familiar? I mean, you mentioned the Japanese mythology, you mentioned the Greek, the Roman, and the Norse, but there are like 150 more. Do you know any other mythologies like from any other parts of the world?
I mean, you know, I think like most people, I'm probably woefully, you know, undereducated on African mythologies and beliefs because I'm sure there's a lot of them, and and of course we don't learn about them in school.
Yeah, and I feel that's kind of sad because there is so many. I see the list here now. It's so many different mythologies from Africa. You have the Central, East, North, Southern, West, and Afro-American religions, actually. So
Yeah.
we should be taught more about that. But I mean, you're only in school in in Norway, it's 10 years. Like you have to be in school, and there is kind of a limit of how much religion and mythology you can learn.
Yeah, to really get a good understanding of them, you'd probably have to spend all 10 years, you know, learning them.
Yeah, I mean, it's wow. Just knowing the basics of the Bai mythology from Asia. It's from China, and you have another one from the Hokkaido island. I guess that's also from around there. Ainu. There's so many. I never heard the names before, and I'm starting to be like, I want to read about them, but then again, it's so complicated, and I do not have a mind to process everything. Religion and mythologies has always, I guess, interested me. Always been fascinated by the gods and belief systems.
Yeah, I wonder what you'd think, because my like you mentioned Ainu, and from what I know of them, I kind of think of them like the Japanese version of the Sami. You know, because they're it's like the northern island of Japan, and I think of it as being snowy and I think of a lot of the same sort of like decorative elements and things like that. Not that I'm an expert on it or even well versed in it, but
yeah, that's now when you mention it, the Sami or shamanism, it's based on shamans and stuff like that, like witch doctors and so around.
Sure.
I don't know anything about that. And we have Sami people in Norway. We have Sami people in the government in Norway. They have their own president in their community that are highly respected, and they have their own national day and all that stuff. And we are taught so little about that here. We should be taught more. I mean, I can't even order a beer in Sami, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the same to some extent here. I mean, of course, there's not one like there's a Sami language, and there's 100 different Native American languages.
Yeah.
Some of which have almost completely died out, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's sad. That's
you think of I think it was Navajo is like during World War II, we like used Navajo as a code because the Europeans didn't, the Germans didn't have anyone that could speak Navajo.
Yeah.
And it's like an incredibly complicated language, I guess, or an incredibly difficult one. So I think they even had like a movie about it, like the Code Talkers or something like that. I thought that's interesting. But yeah,
Then you have the Navajo mythology. Again, yeah. There's an whole story of the people is their religion or mythology is called story of the people. Are you taught about that in schools in the US?
About the Native American?
Yeah, their mythology or stuff like that. I mean, the group their creational stories.
Not probably as a rule. I mean, I wouldn't think it's taught everywhere. I don't know that I learned about it in school. So I don't exactly know how common it is, but I feel pretty confident in saying it probably doesn't get the attention that it deserves, given that this is where those mythologies took place,
Yeah, it's the home of the people, so yeah, it's kind of disrespectful not to teach it in school. And same with the Sami regions. Of course, further north in Norway, where there are their kind of homeland, I guess they're taught somewhat more. I would love to know more. I think I would go deeper into that from now on. I mean, I have like 18 weeks at home where I get about 3 hours a day of kind of me time, I hope, or something like that. Maybe I should dive into some mythology.
Yeah, I expect you to be an expert by June.
Oh, you're funny.
Yeah, but yeah, no, you just had your last day of work before your paternity leave, I know. So
yeah, and I just took my tools, put it in the car, and said "fuck it" and left.
Nice. Yeah. I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I know. So I try not to talk too much about it.
No, that's okay. We gotta get. I'm glad you get it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a right for every parent to be home with a baby.
Yeah.
But that's off topic again.
Yes.
I wonder, and we haven't been taught that at all. We just figured it up ourselves to get off topic.
Yes.
That's our thing, I guess. Let's talk about that off topic. It should be called.
Indeed. Well, you never know that there's. I mean, that's sort of the interesting thing is there's so many. Everything's so interconnected that you start talking about one topic and there's little tendrils that reach into an adjacent topic, and before you know it, you started on mythology and then you're talking about like airplane mechanical failures or something like that. It's like, oh well, we got there somehow.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if we were to talk about just a topic for an all day, we wouldn't be on. The telephone game. It will be like that. We'd end up in something totally different.
Yeah, in a computer programming, we have kind of a maybe it's more than computer programming even, but we have a saying called shaving the yak, which is you start out doing something and then like it leads you to something else, and before you know it, you're in a field shaving a yak and you have no idea why.
So, I guess that's kind of. Yeah, I don't know if that's over into my work, but I mean, when you're in a bigger place, you're all starting with one thing, and then you have to help someone, and then you start a new thing, and then shouldn't I be doing that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I notice here we are sort of reaching our end time here.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts on mythology before we kick off for the day?
We should try to go deeper into different mythologies and keep the stories alive. It's I've never been positive to canceling things, which is the new trend, I suppose, about canceling this and canceling that and torn down this and forget about that. History is something we should learn from. No matter if it's good or bad, you should learn from your or others' mistakes, or wins, of course. So learning about different religions and different mythology, I guess that helps you with being able to connect with different people. I mean, read something about the Muslim religion, Islam, culture, and it would probably be easier for you to make friends with people of that religion and culture. And the same goes with them of Christianity and Buddhism, Hindu, and all those big religions. Like the religions today are so rooted into culture and traditions, and we're kind of brought up in them. Somewhat Christianity, I guess, in Norway is based on Christianity. Most of the country, we have the cross in the flag and all that. But so our culture is, it's very different.
Yeah,
we should learn more about different cultures.
Exactly. Well, I think that is something that we don't always do enough of is try to participate, in those traditions when you can. Like that's sort of the part of the fun of like going to another place or like experiencing other people's culture. Like be a participant in it as much as you can.
Yeah.
When we went to Japan, years ago, we went to one of their shrines and we prayed in the Japanese way at the shrines, even though we're not, whatever. You were not believers in the Shinto religion so much. But
at least you pretended you did. You were a part of the people. You showed your respect to them, and that's very important. I think.
Yeah.
Try not to be disrespectful. Because it's my country or it's my region, it's my religion that matters. No, it doesn't. So I guess that's something we all could learn from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
another
that's a good
wise
final thought.
words. Yeah.
Yeah. Wise words from Martin.
Yeah, that's once in a decade.
Well, I'm glad we managed to capture them here.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess theoretically we'll be recording again next weekend and all that. I mean,
I can't see why
I
not.
don't know how you're you have a lot of time on your hands theoretically, so
yeah, I could be recording here and there on different times of the day, but you're most likely asleep or at work, so
yeah. That's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess as always, if people out there listening want to hear about something, tell us about it, and we'll talk about that.
Definitely. No matter what it is, we could try to make it an hour or so.
Yeah. Well, we could get obviously we won't stay on topic, but at least it'll at least spark an hour-long conversation about something.
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess that's the information for now. We have an email address that you can contact us, or in subreddit we have. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere like that. YouTube. I guess we're kind of everywhere except Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're not there. we kind of skip the big ones.
We want to be on hard mode. No.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be in a position to say it, but like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, thumbs up. Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone out there, have a great week, and we'll see you next weekend.
Yeah, I hope so. Goodbye, everyone.
See ya.